love Kirby games. I know the sky is blue and I see you. You cannot escape. The video is not over. Don't run away. You would probably assume that I've played all of the Kirby-Like indie games out there because of my passionate love for Kirby. Ooh. And I haven't played a single one. Yes, I forgot. I'm so silly. Except I didn't forget. I am still silly, though, because with all of the Kirby-inspired games that I've seen over the years, none of them have really made me feel very much. I respect indie devs a lot, like a whole puppin' lot. But, I mean, there's a lot that I love about Kirby, and for the games, nothing beats their mechanics and the feeling of, you know, actually playing them. I'd like something that can at least contend with Kirby's mechanics and feel simple to understand, tough to master, rewarding for those who do with endless potential. At the very least, seemingly endless potential is, don't worry about it. So, Kirby-inspired indie game master, I am not. Then, one day, over on Blue Sky, the platform where apparently nothing ever happens, something happened! The developer of an in-progress indie game called Astropods, Sharside Glaze, reached out and said that, as I, Klaire_Fluffle, am such a big fan of Kirby games, I may like the one that he's making, which is, of course, very Kirby-inspired. I decided that I respected the hustle. And by that, I mean I couldn't believe someone actually reached out specifically to me for this. Made me feel kind of emotional and happy because I'm telling you that never happens. And despite my usual qualms with Kirby-Likes, I gave it a shot. And I can safely say that I think this is better than most Kirby games. Wait, what? This genuinely is not clickbait or anything, although I would appreciate you subscribing to the channel for weekly Kirby videos if you enjoy this one. Also hype it up if you're on mobile. Let's go! I do think Astropods is that good. Clearly a passion-based indie project, you're not getting a game as technically impressive as, I don't know, the upcoming Air Riders, which I'm going to lose my mind over if I'm not playing it yesterday. I need it! Where was I? Oh yeah, Astropods, right. Seriously, while I wouldn't say it beats every single Kirby game, I wholeheartedly think that it's better than most of them. But how? Why? Where? Let's just, I know this is a crazy idea, just hear me out. Talk about the game and go from there. For starters, YouTube is a visual medium. Well, it's actually hard to tell sometimes quite what it is, but at some point, I'm sure you're going to be looking at the video, so let's talk about the visuals. Fun fact, this video was actually supposed to come out last month, but my OBS was recording at a real stinky quality. And let me tell ya, Astropods visuals, not stinky. When you're playing the game, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Of course, I say this as somebody who loves the look of Kirby's Adventure, which is the easiest point of comparison for visuals that at least I have. And while I think Adventure stands out a bit more with how much it gets from basic objects, basically less is more, I think Astropods has much better colors. I know, wow, a 2025 game having better colors than a 1993 one. What a big shocker that is. But it really helps add to the game's charm and appeal. You basically pretty colors, puppy like pretty colors. In the same boat, I think the music does a great job of, you know, being great music, but also adding to the appeal of the game. I'll get more into this when diving deep into the game's mechanics, but the upbeat and fast pace of the music not only fits the colorful visuals and fun, silly character and enemy designs, but it also immerse you into the play experience. It may not seem like it at first, but this is a game that really benefits from the player locking in, getting in the zone, leaning forward in their chair, causing unending lower back pain. Having faster-paced, energetic music is a boon for this kind of game, and boy howdy, did it deliver. Shoutouts to the composer, Bran, I hope I didn't mess that up, for not only composing, but also for lending me music to use for this video. Now, I'm serious, everyone. Please, just support your indies. They're saving whatever industry that they're in. Please, just do it. Before diving deeper into the game itself, I would be remiss not to mention, I'm super smart here, that this game does have a story, and unsurprisingly, it's very Kirby-coded. The basic setup is largely similar to Adventure, but unlike that game, there are scattered pieces of dialogue that pop in throughout the game, either by finding various signs found via exploring the various levels, or by talking to some pals in the main hub area. The writing is charming, definitely giving it an edge in a regard over Adventure in terms of its story, but I'm admittedly pretty old school in terms of what I want out of my platformers. Again, we'll talk about it soon, but the ways that Astropods encourages you to play the game, it was pretty tricky for me, and me specifically, to go out of my way to engage with the story proper. I liked what I saw, but I also know I hadn't seen nearly enough to get a proper opinion. And trust me, I've got over 20 hours on this game. I think I've played it enough to make this video. But why? How? And where do I have 20 hours in this game, you may ask? Well, it's because it's really fun. Let's talk about why. First, the basics. You have control of two characters, Acro and Hemi, who you can switch between with the press of a button. There's a bit of a cooldown to ensure that you can't just spam swap over and over, but the actual act of swapping is very easy. Both characters can walk, jump, dash, air dash, attack, crouch repeatedly to teabag their enemies. This really is a Kirby game, isn't it? And most importantly, enter doors by pressing up, which is way harder to do when you're going fast. I'm serious, this really is a Kirby game. The basics are all the same, but there are some differences between the characters. Acro is a bit faster, both in movement and attack speed, while also having multiple jumps in exchange for weaker damage and less health. Hemi has a huge hammer to attack with, dealing tons of damage, having more health, and also not sliding down walls while clinging to them. That's nice, while again being slower overall. Both characters also have special moves that can be angled. Acro throws an orb forward and dashes into it, attacking as he moves, while Hemi's orb that she throws comes back like a boomerang. This can actually be avoided on the way back and will continue to hurt enemies. Think something like Rick plus Cutter from Kirby's Dream Land 3, except it's a huge orb of destruction instead of a small pink ball of destruction. As you've been seeing throughout the footage, at least if you're watching, but even if you haven't, I've said this, 5,000 times, the game shares a lot in common with Kirby. It's a 2D platformer, moves are performed with an attack button and directions, and the flow of it all was directly inspired from Kirby. Now, I've been talking a lot about Adventure in terms of its presentation, but once you actually play the darned game, it all just screams Kirby Superstar, which is wonderful. It has a lot of the silliness of a game like Superstar, but with the polish of a game like Superstar Ultra. In fact, when initially seeing it for the first time, my mind kinda gravitated a lot towards Return to Dreamland. The core gameplay was borrowing from the Superstar duology, but the groundwork and structure, not to mention the presentation, took a lot of cues from Adventure. I love Return to Dreamland with all of my heart, but I wasn't quite sure if I wanted a Return to Dreamland but not really kind of game, you know? Thankfully, the more that I played, the more that I realized a huge difference between this game and a lot of the Kirbys that we've come to know and love. That being, the physics and the momentum are very much faster and very much looser. Granted, you can take this game and its levels at a much slower pace. It's still fun that way and is still also very much playable. But soon enough, you'll learn to start chaining dashes, to start taking longer jumps, to ask yourself, how much of this game can I skip and zoom through? The speed really comes together to make this an incredibly tight experience. well, it's the loose one, I guess, is things like the character weight and the horizontal movement. They're very much doing all they can to not restrict you and your options. And in case this isn't obvious, it's something about the game that I really, really appreciate. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that once mastered, this game just stops feeling similar to Kirby. They have their similarities and they always will, but the looseness especially gives Astropods an identity all of its own. The levels too are built with this in mind. I find them very natural to speed through, but the act of learning how to speed through them is all part of the fun. In speedrunning, we call this routing, and while routing is amazing, the actual execution of said routing becomes all the more satisfying because of it. I've heard a lot of people compare this game to Celeste as well, and while I've never played Celeste, I can certainly see it from somebody who has at least seen the game. The main difference here compared to Celeste is, again, in its Kirby approach. The levels aren't as hard as a game like Celeste, being more about taking advantage of the game's mechanics and physics to go as crazy as your heart desires. That definitely reminds me of Kirby, even if it isn't exactly one-to-one. And I mean, who knows, maybe Celeste is like a physics game too with all that stuff, I don't know. But hopefully this makes sense. And hey, if you feel you've got a complete mastery of the game and you want to take it a step beyond, you can. Throughout most of the levels, you can find badges that you can equip that give you specific boosts in exchange for badge points. You need to find the right balance to make these work, but there are some pretty fun badges that you can mess around with. For example, you can swap between Acro and Hemi faster, you can grab enemies and objects in the air, you can decrease the amount of aura that it takes to use your special moves, you can get stat increases, you can even get weird and have stuff like a star that appears in front of you every time you dash that deals damage. These are all really fun, and finding the right set of badges to enhance your own experience adds so much replayability to the game. But things are about to take a turn for the insane, because among the badges that you can get are some that increase your speed. You may be wondering, hey, Klaire_Fluffle on YouTube and Twitch and some other third thing, how much does your speed get increased? Well, that depends on the badges that you equip, but the best frame of reference that I can give is a visual one. For the past while, the footage has been of the same level. Once of a very casual playthrough, no badges, fairly regular movement, etc, etc. Afterwards, I played much faster to showcase how rewarding the game can feel when you've really learned how it all works. Now, I'm going to do a play-by-play of how the game works with badges. Trust me, it won't take long, and trust me, it's not borderline insanity. It's just total insanity. Let's get into it! Alright, make sure you don't blink. So I have speed up badges to make everybody go faster. The sand in this level also makes you move faster. Every time I get hit, one of the badges makes me move faster as well. I cannot get my aura back due to a badge, but that helps with various attributes. You can see the speed boost that we're getting right here already. Get the vertical boost as well. We go down. I go on the wall so that I can get my dash back and go faster with Acro. If I change to Hemi, it is because I need to move down faster, or just her various attributes are more helpful. We enter the door because this is a Kirby game. It's hard but not impossible. We get a jump there, and then we can switch to Hemi to get the dash. We have to pick up the fruit, unfortunately, but it does definitely save time. I've entered this room on 31 before. We entered here on a 33, so this run, bare minimum, can be improved by 2 seconds. We want to make sure we grab that big ball because we can grab and throw it, which will do extra damage to the boss compared to grabbing the boss himself. We miss a couple of attacks here, get a little unlucky, but we make up for it right here. I miss here as well, but once you get the boss into this kind of position, then it's largely just getting the final hit, which we do get, and that's how you clear in 58 seconds. Very nice, with badges. Whew, okay, alright, wow, this has been lots of glow and praise so far, so let's bring ourselves back down to earth, spoilers, and talk about some issues that I have with the game. Notably, and it's easily forgivable given the scope of the development, but the game is kind of fairly ridden with glitches and crashes. Most of the time, they're funny ha-has that don't get in the way, kind of like older Kirby games. kind of getting concerning now. But occasionally something will happen, like I fall off screen and get soft locked, or I'll try a vertical dash boost and I'll barely go anywhere. I can get around these by either restarting a level, changing the timing of my inputs, stuff like that. But for a game that's as good at this one as getting me crazy focused, what the kids may call getting locked in, it can be a bit jarring when things just don't work like they're supposed to. I suppose the length of the game could also be a downside for some, as even in my earlier playthroughs of the game, it didn't take much more than, 3 to 5 hours to complete. Now that I really know what I'm doing, I can probably shave a good hour or two off that time. But even assuming that the game takes 6 hours, yeah, that can be seen as fairly short. To me, I don't see an issue given how well designed the game is, not to mention the idea of personal best times and developer times that you have to beat encourage replays of levels and bosses, even beyond wanting to just speedrun the game like obviously I do. I think the idea of dollars to play hours as a metric is a bit silly, dare I say toxic even, but personally, I don't see the length as an issue. Similarly, I've heard that the momentum and physics that I've been praising like heck, that's right, I said heck, what are you gonna do about it, are difficult for some to wrap their head around, but given how much fun it is to play the game and think about how you can take advantage of the insanity that this stuff brings to the table, and then take advantage of it as you've been thinking about, trust me, it is fully worth it to learn how it all works. Okay, so this last point is literally only a problem for me, and I'm sure the dev is rolling his eyes right now listening to this, but sorry, I gotta say it. So, like I mentioned earlier, I was recommended this game on Blue Sky while it was in its pre-release, and there were a lot of changes from then until now. I like a lot of the changes that were made over time, especially to the boss fights, but the original releases had one key difference that I still miss to this very day. In the original releases, when you used an attack in the air and landed, there was no landing lag and you could immediately act again just like you'd be able to in, say, a Kirby game. To me, even if it is just said Kirby fan talking, this made the flow of the game unparalleled. It felt like you were always moving forward, always able to do what you wanted to do. And with landing lag added, I almost feel incentivized not to attack unless I absolutely have to. You could argue that this is better design, and I could definitely see it. It definitely makes the bosses more difficult, but it's less fun. And for a game like this, I really like having all that fun. That said, this is all I've got to say about Astropods. At the time of this video going up, the game may or may not be on sale. Sorry about this taking like over a month long. I really am. Either way, please consider getting it. I promise it's an absolute blast. I'd love to see more games like it, and positive word of mouth, especially for indies, is very important. Even with the issues that I have with it, it is exactly the kind of game that I want to see more of, so again, buy it. For now, though, I'd like to give a quick thank you to my patrons and YouTube members. What am I doing, not calling them puptrins and mempups? I'm saying it normally. For their support. They really help make sure that I can work on videos on top of having to work my good old day job, and I appreciate everybody who goes the extra mile to support me. If you'd like to become a puptrin or a mempup yourself, please check the description for more info. Special thanks to my head-patting Fluffle fan puptrins and mempups, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, Heavy Points, Lizzie, and Galaxy Fan 4. I love you all! And until I see you all again, I've been Klaire. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye!